second muscle which I will talk about is your emotional muscle. Most of us think we are emotionally strong, but we are strong when we are driving in a straight lane. Are we strong when somebody cheats you? Are we strong when somebody plays unfair? Are we strong when the whole system becomes unfair? Are we strong when we do not achieve our targets and we are thrown out of the company? So, what emotional muscle are we talking about? Emotional muscle, everybody thinks they are strong. But many of the heart attacks I have seen is because of years and years and years of people going through their corporate life facing all these issues, which is unfairness, which is cheating, which is fraud, which is deceit. It affects their emotional health. The third muscle which I'm going to talk about is your intellectual capability. Now, sitting in IIT Bombay, I'm sure you don't expect me to have any doubt about your intellectual capability. So I'm not going to talk about the capacity. I'm talking about the resilience. So when you deal with nuclear energy can be very powerful, but nuclear energy can be very destructive, and that's what our minds are. If they are very powerful, they are equally destructive. So I want you to stop and think that in 1 minute, how many positive thoughts are you having about yourself, and how many disempowering, negative thoughts you're having about yourself. Just 1 minute you have to give and think about it. So just 1 minute, let's spend thinking about how many thoughts are we having. So, a very good point. So if the mind is left untended, it will always go towards negative thoughts. When I say negative, it doesn't mean I want to kill somebody or I want to harm somebody. Negative thoughts which are thoughts which make you feel helpless. Thoughts which make you feel that I'm not in control. Thoughts which make you feel that I don't have the power. The system has the power. Thoughts which take away your power from yourself, the power to make a choice within yourself, and gives that power to an outside system which you don't know. What is that system? Some outside system. This is disempowering thought. And a person who has imagine now this is 1 minute. If you multiply it by 24 hours and 365 days, the number of disempowering thoughts we are having continuously is because the mind will go to problems, the mind will go to issues, the mind will go to areas where it sees a risk. Now you'd say, but that's natural. I mean, we should know about the risk. What is important is that any risk, there are thousands and thousands and millions of risks, right? Even the stairway is a risk. People can stumble and fall and hurt themselves. But what is more important is the ability to look beyond the risk, the ability to find a positive force to actually mitigate the risk, reduce the risk in yourself, that I can handle this. There are many risks out there. I can handle this. So building that is not something which happens automatically. And this I want to repeat again. Building a positive framework is not something which comes automatically. And the same thing, all of you are either engineers or becoming engineers. But how many of you were born engineers? I think there was a process which you followed to become engineers. So similarly, it is a process to have positive thoughts. It's not automatic. It's not something, even people who smile and laugh a lot, it's not that inside they're empowering themselves every time. Inside, they may be scared, they may be fearful, they may be having thoughts, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't belong to this particular thing. I don't deserve this. So what I'm trying to say is one has to keep working on positive thoughts and has to actively build those positive thoughts. And why it is very important is because people who are blessed with very, very fine brains have to work harder at it. Not easier. It's not easier for them. It's harder because the mind will always throw a googly at you and always reject what you are saying. So the positive side will always be rejected by the other side, the cynic side, which will say, the skeptic side, and say, no, it's not possible. Look at others. They are failing, you'll fail. And when you fail, this will go down, this will go down, this will go down. Your reputation will go down, everything. The fourth muscle is your spiritual muscle. And here I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about when everything is down, what will be your anchor? So today, many of you would have your parents as anchor. Some of you would have your professors, your mentors, or someone elder in the family as your anchor. So there would be an anchor who you think you're going to call or talk or discuss or share. But slowly, as you go up your career path, you will have no anchor. You will have no external anchors. Because you would have gone in a path which is a different path. Who do you trust at that point of time? Who do you look for source of energy at that point of time? What I say is, what is your anchor in your energy going to be? Your anchor in your life going to be? What are you going to trust that something will work out? Everything is down, but something will work out. And that's something you have to build subconsciously. Because a lot of people, I mean, if you have seen in the West, it happens a little more. Michael Jackson, you know how he passed away when he had everything. Many powerful people, many successful people become even more vulnerable to the highs and lows of life. And when you're at the lowest of your life, what anchor would you have? Because there'll be nobody else. There'll be no human anchor left at that point of time. So these are the 4 muscles which I suggest we start building. In terms of the physical part, the kind of physical muscle which you can build is, there are many ways. You can pursue an activity which becomes an investment in your health. It could be anything. It could be running, it could be jogging, it could be yoga, it could be swimming. Anything which is possible. But don't look at that activity as something just to look good. Because it's an investment in your body. Because in your 20s and 30s, if you invest in your body, the body will give back to you in handsome returns in your 50s and your 60s and your 70s. Because you'll be investing your time, energy, intellect, everything in your 20s, 30s and 40s. And by the time you hit your 40, your body will start declining. And that's the time, if you have not invested in your body, you will not get the returns of your other investment, which is your professional investment. In terms of food, actually, if we start thinking of food as an ally, you will find all the choices. See, today, I'm of course going to give you some examples. But I know that that's not enough. I mean, there is enough information available in today's world. I mean, today, I think all the knowledge is out there. So I don't need to give you any knowledge. I just need to tell you where to look for. So there is enough information out there, but the basics of healthy eating are, first thing is, all the dry fruits are healthy. All the dry fruits. So when I talk about almonds or nuts and oil seeds or sunflower seeds, so if we get into a habit of eating dry fruits, of course, there are some seasonal dry fruits, like walnut is a seasonal dry fruit. You shouldn't eat it in the summers. But most of the dry fruits, if you make a habit of eating, they nourish the nerves, the nervous system, because they are rich in the right kind of fats and they are also rich in minerals. If you get into the habit of having vegetable juices, just get a mixie or a juicer. Mixie is easier. And start juicing vegetables and having vegetable juice every day. Just as a habit. Because what I'm depending on is, once you are habituated, habits die really hard. And that's one of the best insurances for any kind of good habit. I mean, any kind of good outcomes is if you put in a habit at this point, you will see that this habit will become so automatic, you won't notice it. So if you start having vegetable juice, now why am I saying vegetable juices and not cooked vegetables? Because there are a lot of enzymes, which we still don't know much about in medicine, which actually help the body to regenerate. So you know that actually we are new cells every few years because our entire intestine is regenerating, our skin is regenerating, our nervous cells, they continuously are they're breaking down and they're improving. Our blood cells, every 3 months there is a regeneration. So our whole body is in a system of regeneration. We are continuously regenerating ourselves. And in this regeneration process, if we don't introduce viruses, which I say not the physical virus and the bacteria, but the mental virus, the emotional virus, if we don't introduce them, the body keeps staying healthy for a very long period of time. Even if you have a genetic tendency or a predisposition, whether for diabetes or cholesterol, you will also notice incidentally that a genetic predisposition is also aligned in many ways to the family behaviors. So you will see some family behaviors keep repeating themselves. So you'll see a lot of mothers, they'll say, oh, my son, this habit has come from his chacha, this habit has come from his father, this is like my brother. So a lot of family behaviors. So what is the behavior? It is a DNA code, no? Many of you who are coding, a DNA is a code. And a code is what? Some of the codes are active, some of the codes are dormant. And when we do the right habits, we actually it is also possible to make some of those negative codes to be dormant by active healthy habits. Because the DNA is not in stone. A DNA code is actually a dynamic code. It is responding to the external world continuously. So some of these codes are active, some are dormant, and you can change the way your DNA behaves in response to the environment. So meaning thereby that a lot of behaviors you actually absorb from your family are also the reason that genetic disorders keep carrying on in the family. It's typically diabetes and hypertension and some of those. There are many diseases which we don't know enough about, and I must confess that medical science is far from perfect. There are so many things we do not know about. We do not really understand how the brain works. Even today, we do not understand how the brain works. There are a lot of things. You have CT scans to tell you that when you're thinking happy, this is what lights up. When you're sad, this is what lights up. When you're confused, anxious, this is what happens to the brain. But really, that's not enough. There is a lot of cellular intelligence which goes on at the cell level. How it communicates with your body. What is the signals it gives you? What is the feedback it gives you? So meaning thereby that when we talk about physical health, we're talking about just some best practices. I won't give you a long list of things to do. I don't want to tie you up in one menu plan or a recipe, but basics, the thumb rules. So for example, like I mentioned, juicing is one thing. It'll last you forever. It'll really help you because the enzymes in the juices, they carry a lot of energy which we don't understand how they work. Dry fruits. Third thing I would say is that so what is refined flour? In stage 1, you have the grain. In stage 1, like you actually have the grass. In stage 2, you have the grain. The grain comes with its outer cover. The outer cover, which is first is a thick cover, which you remove in any case. And then is the inner cover, the skin of the grain. And that has the maximum vitamins. So in brown rice, it is 16 times the B12 and almost 8 to 9 times the iron. And it reduces by that much in white rice. So as you keep processing the grain from its original cereal form, whole grain form, to the final form, which is the flour, and then the final refined flour, which is the maida or the baking powder or the corn flour or the rice flour, it has lost everything. There is nothing left excepting sugar. And when we constantly bombard our bodies with so much sugar, what happens? The insulin is constantly trying to control the body sugar. The job of the insulin is to control the body sugar. When it's unable to do that, it will take the body sugar and just throw it into a process which converts into fat. So almost 95% of that is converted to fat, which is a post-digestive effect of sugar. So 95% of sugar which we eat is converted to fat because the body can't handle so much sugar. It has to put it away in something which is non-toxic. So when we, every day of our lives, from the age of 20 or not even 20, I mean, let's say when we were small kids to the age of 40, finally the body starts showing signs of, so it's compensating, it's constantly compensating, you know, and then it starts showing. What is the signs? High cholesterol, fatty liver. I mean, of course, there's a conglomerate of things which happens, but high cholesterol, fatty liver, swelling, skin issues, hair fall, acidity, dandruff, and tiredness, fatigue, vitamin B12 deficiency. So meaning thereby all these things start up, and we, most of the time, we keep thinking, oh, the doctor said it's B12 deficiency, let me take a pill, I'm done with it. End of my investment in my body. I took that pill. The doctor says, oh, you're mildly diabetic, why don't you start metformin? So you start a metformin. But does metformin really help? No. It covers the symptoms. The problem is still there.